recording. So we are officially live and doing our thing. Island aesthetic, my man from the VR world. How are you, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And, I'm a little bit under the weather with my throat right now, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good. What about yourself?
Oh, I'm well. Can't complain, man. I'm actually excited to be talking to you, man. And I'm hoping you get better. Get some of that vitamin C, that orange juice, bro. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Pack up on that
I was,
vitamins.
I was babysitting my niece a couple weekends ago, and that's when it happened. So, yeah,
Damn. Yeah, them
that's
children
fun.
they don't know how to cover their mouth, right? They just be ah.
Literally, I'm like, girl, man. Ooh.
No, but I'm glad to have you, bro. Welcome to In the Lens with Benz. I'm your host, Beneficial Films, but in the VR world, they know me as Beneficial Games, right? And today we're doing something different, bringing together the virtual and the real. I'm here as my avatar in VR, and joining me on FaceTime using Discord is our guest, Island Aesthetic, a world creator, developer who's making a wave in this digital space, man. I actually met him and was blown away by what he created. Wanted to get to know him instantly, man. He created. It's hard to even explain what you create in real words. So I will have you explain it. But if I, in my words, you create this therapeutic, light emanating magic sphere of a world that gives you comfort and it's just I can't. That's all I can. I can say it in my words, man. You got to go in there to see it more than I can just explain it to you. But that's how I met my man Island Aesthetic. He's a super cool, chill guy, man. And I'm here to have this conversation because a lot of people is kind of scared of VR, or as I like to say, scared of VR. And I like to get other people's perspectives, especially those inside and outside, man. So on the show, we talk about virtual reality, AI, and the creative journeys of those shaping the future. It's about imagination, innovation, and community. And today we're diving in, my man. So if you can you just explain, yourself to the people who don't know you and how you started in VR yourself.
Okay. My real name is Christopher. I grew up on a small island, Johns Island, South Carolina. It's one of the Gullah Islands. I also went to school for mathematics. So I was always really big into math and coding, like ever since like high school, actually. Like I think 11th grade is when I started coding. And I want to say a lot of my interests when it came to like my senior thesis was about creating 3D animations. So it was already kind of like embedded in me as kind of like educational wise and like really a big facet of my imagination of just wanting to see things move. And I think in my segue into VR was actually through 3D modeling. I got into 3D printing initially in 2018, and I think by 2019 I was like, there are a lot of 3D models out there. However, there are a lot of things I want to make, but I don't have the skills to make, right? And so I got into like Blender. I started doing 3D sculpting. I actually have one of my 3D sculpts behind me. Give me one second.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So this was a 3D sculpt that I did back from 2021
Wow.
for a cosplay convention. So I sculpted this
Nice.
inside of a program called ZBrush. And it took me maybe about 3 days to print this, but this is a cosplay mask.
Holy
Um,
smokes.
yeah. What's that?
That's really dope, bro.
Yeah, I
And
made
you
the
created
mask.
it in the software and you was able to print it out so you could physically hold on to it and wear it.
So I made the mask. I made like this like 2 foot long sword to go along with it, as well as like the armor pieces too. And so that was really my big focus, like especially like during the pandemic. My 3D printing business is going very well, and I think in 2021 was also the year that my mom got me my first VR headset, my Oculus Quest 2. And for the most part, I was mainly using Gravity Sketch. I didn't even know the metaverse was even a thing, by the way. I just was going into Gravity Sketch, just making these 3D models, 3D printing things. And I want to say like mid 2021, a friend of mine hit me up. He said, "Man, I see that you're into coding. I also see that you're into like 3D modeling. Like, you should really check out the metaverse, right? So he had me
Mm-hmm.
install Horizon Worlds, and he took me to this world initially. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't think I get it, and I don't think it's quite for me. I'll probably check it out on my own time. It was an
What world
absolute
was
no
that?
at that point.
What world was that? And how did I get you? And what made you say that when you went in there?
It was like a Candyland world.
Okay,
Um, it was a Candyland world, and mind you, I didn't grow up playing Candyland. That was not one of the games I had growing
so
up.
there's nothing you
Uh,
could connect with.
yeah, I didn't connect with it, and it was like little noises. I looked at it like, okay, this is just another place to play games, and this is not a game that I would like to play. And
Okay.
I missed the point at that point. However, just me being someone, even though I may not be into something that somebody's showing me, one thing that I like to do is I might decline, say, okay, I don't like what they showed me, but I'll go back on my own time and kind of explore on my own. So I think it was
Mm-hmm.
like around this time of year in 2022, and I put the headset back on like over a year later, and I'm like going into Horizon Worlds by myself. And I went to initially it was a NASCAR racetrack, and I was on like speakerphone with my friend and telling him, "Man, I see a lot of stuff in here, but I don't know what's really going on." So I went to a Miami penthouse world, and
A Miami
I'm moving
penthouse.
around Miami penthouse.
Okay, Miami penthouse. Okay.
Yeah, it was a penthouse in Miami that somebody, made a replication of. So I'm looking around and I'm
Mm.
like, wait a second, there's black people here, like right there, like a girl and a guy. And mind you, I didn't even know people could hear me when I'm talking in on the platform. So I'm telling my friend I'm excited to see all these black people. So the girl kind of walks by and like leans over and looks at me. I'm like, wait, I think they can hear me. She's like, yeah, we can hear you. And so from that point, the guy came over and he was like, "Yeah, you surprised that you see black people here or something?" I'm like, "Yes, I am surprised to see black people here. Two of them at that, and a girl and a guy. That tells me it's not like necessarily a black male dominated space. It's like there's more to see here that I'm not seeing yet." And he laughed
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, it was true. So he said,
Mm-hmm.
if you're like shocked right now, you're in for a real treat. But let me show you where we all hang out." And he looked at his wrist and popped up in this portal. And I was just amazed. I was like, "Whoa!" It was black magic. I was in at that
Black
point.
magic, of course, right?
Oh yeah, lots of black people there. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's like the first kind of world you go in there and kind of see some people, see what people up to.
Yeah, that was my first time walking in and seeing, okay, this is a space. It's a club world. It's not just a game that kids are kind of be running through. It also has like disclaimers, it has things I can like relate to. There were like ankhs on the wall and affirmations. Of course, they had a
Mm-hmm.
stage for like, karaoke music and all sorts of things. So I was like, wow, this is actually an experience that people go in and like hang out in and like sing together in headset and like argue if they're drunk or something. I was like, wow, there's a whole society in
Right.
this headset I didn't even know. But from that point, I started asking a lot more questions.
Bro, dang, yeah, bro. You went right into your start, bro. And I'm about to say, how do you or what drew you into creating your own worlds and stuff like that, bro?
Um,
What get you started?
Initially, I got in and just like my senior project in college, I wanted to make a model of the solar system. And, I was coding this, and a friend of mine was networking me around in the metaverse. Like, she was like, look, you're a coder, and that's a very, very small community within the space to be a scripter. She said, don't build anything just yet, just focus on coding, and I'll do the rest. And I would say within a month and a half, I went to this one networking event, and the lady who was over the event, I didn't know that she was actually a recruiter for a VR company. But when she
Oh,
found out that I was making a model of the solar system, that directly lined up with the project that their team, VR and Review, was like working on, and so I was able to get like a contract, like off rip. Not before I even realized
wow.
people were even making money in the space. One of my first questions during that initial interview was
Nice.
like, "How do I know you guys aren't trying to scam me? Because I've never heard of people making money in the headset before. Like, how does this work?"
Yeah.
And at that time, Ashes to Ashes, who I asked that question, she broke it down to me. as far as how particular companies leverage their abilities and their creative abilities to make experiences for people. So I didn't
Oh,
start out necessarily making things for myself. I started out literally with a contract,
wow.
and that was like for the first. That was from maybe about I think September through December. I was working. I didn't release any worlds until literally I think January next year. Oh, you
Oh,
still there?
before. Oh yeah, it's still breaking up. My fault.
Mhm.
That was a before, or after you did you start doing your performance worlds.
Long, 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 long before, long before. Performing wasn't not even
Wow,
a thing at that point. It was
that's
I
impressive,
literally just
man.
my first world that has like the chocolate books and everything. I just wanted to make like a meditation world, actually. And that's my very first world, the Aesthetic Dominion. So you walk in, it's like a kind of like a sanctuary, very quiet. But I was really focusing on, oh, I want to make this world that has these books because books are cool, and not thinking necessarily about necessarily what people in Horizon want to see, but things that I like to see, But
Yeah.
what got me was playing around with like orbit scripts and making the trails. I was playing with trail effects that went up the spirals, like in
Mm,
spirals along like the 12 pillars in the world. Um,
mm,
I thought to myself, how far can I take that right there exactly? It was just a random thought actually. Um, and I want to say maybe a few months later, I decided to perform actually. I was like, I can
mm.
actually make this into a production. I can have the lights dim, I could control them, like the trail effects, and I can put on a show for people. That's how it started.
Dog, bro, and I love that show, bro. When I first seen it, it was tremendous, bro. It was tremendous. Did
Oh, are you
how
talking about like Ascension though?
I'm talking about Ascension. What you talking about something else? I done missed it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm talking about what the idea that made Ascension its thing, right? So before the aesthetic Ascension ever existed, there was the aesthetic Dominion. It only had 12 lights in it, okay?
Hmm.
And I was like, I want to upgrade this world, right? And so I made it so that I could control those 12 lights within the world. And so the first person I showed was my friend Dollar Beezy. I said, "Hey Dollar Beezy, what do you think of this new update
Easy.
to my Aesthetic Dominion world?" And he looked, he said, "Okay, this is good, but hear me out. This would look much better in a world by itself. Like this change that you're making to this world is so great that putting it in this world won't do it justice." And I was like,
Mm,
I hear you, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna ask somebody else. So I went to my friend Wayne's world and showed him. He
old
was like,
school.
"Man, if you put this in a dark space by itself, I'd be in there for hours." And I said, I heard something like that already, and I don't think I want to hear it again. So let me ask somebody else. And I think the last person I asked was Andrew Money. And Andrew Money, I showed him. He said, "Man, if you put this in a dark room," I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna get a dark world. I'm gonna
Mm,
get these 12 lights, and I'm gonna give you 10 of them actually, give you options actually, and
mm.
you just go in there for hours." I said that with all the spike in my heart, and that eventually became the aesthetic ascension world. So it wasn't even
Wow,
supposed to be a
wow.
world that was like supposed to be. It was just, that world
You
is
can go in there and
actually,
just play with lights in the dark.
what's that?
You can just go in there and play with lights in the dark, pretty much.
Literally, literally, just because my friend said, "Look, put this in a dark space so we can play within the dark." And I was like, "You know what? I'll give you guys that, and I'll trust you. If y'all see something that I don't see, go for it." But that became a most popular world so far, based off that. So it
Dang,
was never supposed to be a world by itself initially.
I love that story, bro, because I was always interested in how you even got started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like of course, not everyone's necessarily seen the world, but you go into the world and there are like these pillars, and you can step onto each of the pillars. And when you're on VR, you can control your hands. With your hands and your head tracking, you can control the trail effects to make like lots of different like geometric shapes. But starting out,
Mhm.
there were no geometric shapes at all. You just moved around the lights. It did nothing. No
You just
hearts, no, you know, rain, no nothing. And it
mm,
took me a while because like even though that world was gaining popularity, I still did not like the fact that I didn't want it to be made initially. So I was like, I'm not going to put much energy into it besides putting like the tree of life symbol on the ground to make sure it's like at least a space of intentional healing, you know? Um, but I want to say the the following year, Valentine's Day, I added in hearts to the world. You know, just as a special thing, because I was getting like a tour that day with, I think, were they, can't remember the group, but what happened was I was gonna take the hearts out. I was like, I'm gonna make the world basic again, and they were like, no, keep the hearts, and okay, I'm gonna have to now make because that was for the Sweetheart song. I'm gonna now have to make animation for each of the songs, and that's how the world. That was my segue into actually starting to love the world and really put thought into it.
I was about to say, what made you put music into? What made you put music into there?
Um, what made me put music into it? Um, well, at the time, I was still living in Florida, and I had a neighbor who lived in the apartment building next to mine, and I would see him sometimes walking around with a guitar. And one day, I actually asked him, "Hey, do you make music?" And he gave me his Instagram, Kerry Courtney. You can find him on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music. But yeah, I
Kerry
was like, man,
Courtney, I
you
like his
sound amazing.
songs. I like
But
his songs.
at that point in time, it was really hard to get in Horizon Worlds music that was not copyrighted. So what I did, I
Hmm.
proposed to him this. I said, If you would allow me to play your album, your Mother Moon album, in each of my worlds, I'll make sure that when you play, credits show so that, you know, people who come to my virtual worlds get to see exposure to you and your platform. And, you know, by doing that, he now has like on his you know, on his Instagram, a big portion of my VR following that just love his music because in my worlds I only have 6 of his songs I think total, but like he is a songbird. He makes music all the time, like literally just making songs and just posts it on his Instagram. So I'll tell people all the time, like if you love the music in my worlds, you have to check out his Instagram because he always making music.
Yeah, and I really enjoy his songs, bro, and they match with your performance as well. I
Yeah.
plan on doing another season where you can showcase, like where I'm about to like take the camera and showcase, you know what I mean, what exactly you do, man. So I'm excited to do that, bro, for real.
Yeah.
So for the people who like this over their head in VR, bro, and don't know what VR may be, how do you explain it to people? How do you say, yo, this is what VR is, and this, you know what I mean? How do you get people
Hmm.
in your words?
You know, I can't say that I've necessarily found myself in a position where I'm explaining so much about VR, unfortunately. You know, because it's still a hard thing for a lot of people to fathom. It's a hard thing for people to fathom the idea of the purpose, the experience. So my whole thing, I do less of trying to explain VR to people, and I more so just take them into VR with me. I'm like, I'm not gonna try to explain too much of it. You know, I can try to put into words the things that I do, but you
Right, but
know,
how can you if you
you
when
can't.
you could just put them on a headset and they can see for themselves, right?
I
Right.
literally just put it in front of them so they can see it for themselves. And because the art form that I made has no real name behind it, you know, I just made
Mm.
it. So it's just like, how do you describe to something, someone, something you developed by yourself through like coding and mathematics? No, it's just something you just have to see for yourself and experience.
It's brand new, something brand new. And I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait to. You might be the first episode when I do the next season of showcasing, bro. Because I think
Mhm.
people really got to see that. And
Yeah,
I got like 2, 3 videos with you actually. So yeah,
yeah,
man. Hopefully, when I do edit this up, I put some in the front. But I really want to go live again and really like have you explain even more. But yeah, it's another season, bro. But I love that answer. I love that answer because I like to ask everybody and just get their perspective on it.
yeah,
I've been kind of begging my homies and friends for a minute because I see the future. Yet a lot of stuff go up and down and stuff changes,
yeah,
and people have economies different. You know what I mean? So people refocus on certain things.
yes.
So yeah, man. I purposely did this show so we can kind of get everybody's perspectives and heads on it. And so I can show people too the behind the scenes. I got a little video of me right here, so you can really see how I'm not really just an avatar. I'm really a person with the headset on too.
Yeah,
But
check
yeah,
it out.
how do you feel about AI, man? How do you feel about that and VR mixing together? And how do you use AI, or do you even use AI?
I do use AI. I got like I was a big fan of AI even when I was in high school. Like one of my favorite games was Ragnarok Online. And you know how, like in some
I've never.
games, you could pick like a wizard or a swordman or like, an archer. They had something called an alchemist class where you could actually make your own what's called like homunculus. And they actually allowed users to go in and adjust the AI of those NPCs that fight with you. So, for
Mm,
me, I've always had an interest in AI, not to the degree of like the generative AI, but the idea of decision making and process and just coding and how to utilize these things to make your experience better. So my exposure to AI at the age of 16 was more so how do I get this creature in this virtual world that I can't go into, I can see the screen. How do I get this creature to, instead of going in circles around me, how do I get it to like always walk in front of me such that it attracts all the monsters instead of monsters coming to me? So for me, I
mm.
always understood AI and coding to be more of like tools and resources, ways of
Yes.
improving our lives without having to necessarily have it do all the heavy lifting for us. So my perspective of AI is that I think that it's a great tool. However, I think we have to be also very conscious of over reliance on it as well, because there's a lot of ingenuity that we still haven't accomplished. And if AI starts to develop more faster than we can make the ideas to develop, um, and that's like a new problem. Like AI
Mm-hmm.
is now solving problems that we haven't fathomed yet. So,
Mm-hmm.
we have to kind of slow down and sometimes ask ourselves exactly how are we leveraging AI, as opposed to giving AI all of our freedom. That's
Exactly.
the real question. But when it comes to the idea of VR and AI, I'm a pretty big fan of it actually. It opens up so many doors for creativity, whether it's generative AI of making clothing very easily. That's
Mm-hmm.
opened up a lot of doors. Just being able to generate, like use prompts to generate clothes. You can now,
Mm-hmm.
use prompts to generate environments and other things as well. So the
Yeah.
whole thing of generative AI, being able to just generate things on the fly within worlds that are already published, with, of course, NPCs that can talk and give dynamic responses now, that's major. There's so much more creative freedom that can come with that, though it does come with the idea that you have to kind of understand a little bit of TypeScript to get these things to work, you know? So I think that we are at a really good time where we are able to use a lot of these tools to leverage our ideas and our business. So I'm all for it.
Bro, love that answer, man. And the NPCs I thought was super huge too when I seen that, bro, because uh, even like before, of course, you was making games, but now you're making games for real. It's like now you're making games. No, now you can like or use that as a person to engage with your brand of business.
Yes.
While you away, and it's completely like it's like you said, game changer, game changer.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about how AI and prompting can help with VR, bro. I'm about to say, how do you see your role evolving as VR and AI communities expand? You know what I mean?
How do I see my role? So of course I'm in the Horizon world seen as like, of course, a scripter, like a coder, but like going into all of like VR, I got in through 3D modeling. That's literally more my passion than coding, actually. Like between
Okay,
sculpting, modeling, I just love making things and printing them as well. But my
gotcha.
whole thing is going forward. I'm more so interested in seeing the bridge moving towards augmented reality. As you said before, there's a lot of directional
Mm-hmm.
changes, I think, when it comes to certain platforms. And I think one big announcement this year was about the Meta Ray-Ban displays.
Yes,
And even though
sir.
that's really great development, and a lot of really cool tech with like the neural band that goes on your arm and you can do different things. I don't think they're releasing a new headset necessarily. So the
Hmm.
idea that I do like the idea that they are or seem to be giving users access to kind of develop for these new glasses in a like kind of like an open source style. So that right there is another huge thing, just to allow people to be able to, use their glasses for whatever. And I think that like with other devices, like for instance, like Apple, I don't think that open sourceness is necessarily as appreciated or given to, people who have used Apple devices. It's, a lot of things are monitored and closed up, but I really do like the idea that we're going to be able to develop things for the technology that we have ourselves.
There's a lot more. I can see a lot more worlds, a lot more just places to go now or games to play now. And I'm pretty sure that was Meta whole goal, right? For more people to just jump into other different things
Yeah,
and
and I
different
think,
people.
I think that the goal is moving more towards AR, being able to see reality imposed over our own reality. Like, we talk about in real life, which is the real world, we also talk about virtual reality, but a lot of times there's an intersection between. And I think that intersection is going to be the goal, like holograms, technically. But
Hmm.
like starting out with just how do we see digital things while we're in the world without having a headset on our head, and
Right.
not being restrained from that, because there's so much that's limited when we start to have, like, of course, a computer or a console on our head.
On our face,
We want to
right?
walk
Yeah.
around with it, but what's up?
All right. Peripheral vision going. My head starting to hurt a little bit because of the weight. You know what I mean? Like you gotta adjust and
Yeah,
all that. Motion sickness for some people, for most people actually. So yeah, I feel
yeah.
like the augmented realities
Have you
is
ever
next.
used the Oculus Pro?
Not yet.
So one good thing is that the Pro was like my second headset that I got like instantly, like after that first
Nice.
month when they announced it during that MetaConnect. You actually have like these things that you can take off the side, so you have your peripheral. You can also see in your lap. So
Nice.
I kind of like the design where they were going, but they kind of went backwards with that. So I do wish
Yeah.
that they would have continued with the Pro route, but it is something to observe that the glasses are like going to be moving, I think, the direction of what the metaverse and what XR and AR are going to look like.
100%. And I feel like that's way more of a bridge to get the people that's not in VR to kind of slowly make their way in there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Augmented
because
reality, bro.
a lot of people look at, of course, VR as it's a gaming console. Where in
Right.
reality behind that, there's a lot of people who do business in VR. There's a lot of people who, make just different experiences there and they express themselves there. However, it is still seen as a gamified experience. So, it is hard to get a lot of people into it because they come in thinking, okay, what games we're going to play? And it's like, we're here to do, not putting on this thing to play games. I very rarely play games on my headset. I'm literally, going in there
Yeah.
is to network, do business, or build. One of the three.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And that's what I tell people too. Once you get in the VR, I'm pretty sure you're immersed. You're like excited. And I started with the PlayStation VR. So when they had wires, so when
Mhm.
MetaQuest came out, I was like, oh, no wires. I got to get it instantly. So now I can move
Yeah,
around, not be tethered. I thought that
yeah.
was it. But after a certain while, man, I was like, wait a minute. You can
You
people
become
are
tethered.
making some dividends in here. Some
You're
dividends in
in.
this joint. Dang. So,
But
man, I don't want to take too much of your time, man. I like to keep it short and sweet, 25 to 30, bro. But on a
yeah, yeah.
personal question, man, if you would like to invite anybody, living or non-living, to be in the space of enjoy, experience VR with you, who would it be, bro?
Um, anyone just to come in? I would
Yeah,
say my mom. She's
your
still
mom.
alive, but she has not seen any of my worlds. So she's next on my list actually.
Oh yeah,
But
man, get mama in there.
Yeah, yeah. Now, my mom, unfortunately, she has like ocular issues. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna inherit some based off of things that I've seen already. So I'm using my eyes as much as I can right now. But it's not going to be something
Yeah.
that she's going to be able to do long term. So it's going to be something that she might do like once or twice, but not long
Yeah.
term, because she's a bit older. But again, having eye issues is something that she inherited and something that's affecting me as well in different ways. But I'm making sure that my work stands for itself. And yeah, she's my biggest fan and will always be.
Yes, sir, man. Dang, yeah, get mama in there, bro. And I'm liking the fact that we got a desktop now. You know what I mean? You don't have to too much build in the headset.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then also, man, I plan on shooting more so I can showcase you more so people can't really get on the headset can really see at least in 2D or
It,
showcase some type
there's
of way.
something, and I don't know how far you've gotten into the desktop editor. There's something I want you to personally check out, and that is the camera APIs.
Camera APIs, huh? I've seen
Yeah.
that, but I haven't really seen it. I thought it was for something
So
else.
here's the thing, right? I think they may have just very recently released the camera API 2s, the second generation of camera APIs. And the camera APIs allow you to, on mobile and desktop, be able to disconnect the camera from the head of the player and make it focus on other things. You can do
Okay.
orbit,
All
you can do
right.
pan, shift to a different perspective, but that's something that would really, really be useful for you when it comes to streaming. So I want to talk to you about that sometime.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm excited about that, man. I've seen it, and I actually was just in desktop editor like 2 days ago, and that's why this is the world I'm in now with my little logo and stuff like that and stuff, just playing around with things. And yeah, man, I'm excited to talk to you about that. Yeah, because I keep telling Meta to do VR chat cameras. Just put the VR chat cameras in Meta Horizon. That's all I'm asking for. We good. You know what I mean?
VR
That's all
chat
they really
camera.
need. You never been in the VR chat?
Oh, I have, but
Oh, but you never
I'm
messed with the
not
cameras.
enough to because I know there's like a drone camera, but like what aspect of the cameras are you talking?
Just the cameras in general, like any aspect of it, because I like the fact you can take it out, like you said, and the camera APIs can do. You can take it out, you can float it, orbit it. They got the aperture, you know what I mean? You can put,
Yeah,
you can be depth of field, like the behind me can be out blurry and I can be in focus. You can
yeah,
zoom in and out, which is nice. Fly, you know what I mean? Any
yeah.
orbit, like you saying, and that's all I'm asking for.
Now,
Oh,
mind
and they have pins, so like you have three different cameras, so I can like switch between the three at any point. So
Now, mind you, all that is possible now.
okay,
And the thing about it, the game of it is not the, of course, game of a video game, but the political part about it is if they give that to everyone, everyone will have that competitive advantage. So that's
so
why
you saying you
you
got
have
to
to
script the
tell
shit?
them. You say what?
You saying you got to script it?
Yes.
Mm,
So here's the thing, right? Like that system, it can maybe cost them time and money to develop, but the idea is that we as creators can develop those things, like not the focus and everything, but the ability to camera move. All we can do that now, but you have to make sure
mm,
that you as a developer take the advantage of those things because I don't. They're not going to make a lot of the things that you want them to make.
mm.
When it comes to Meta, they actually don't know much about what we do on the platform. You know that, right?
I do. I actually do, bro. Because
Yeah.
I've been talking to some people and they just like, well, never seen this. So I'm like, their focus is like really on other things like the meta displays and stuff. They're not looking at like what I'm
And
doing with the content and stuff like that.
hear me when I tell you this. Like, I think we were talking earlier, and I was talking about like research opportunities that I've had with Meta, and I can't really describe all of them because there are NDAs involved with stuff like that. So, like, there are times where they reach out to creators and ask us our opinions, and when we have those moments, one of the overarching like denominators is the idea that the people conducting the interviews or the research they don't know anything about the platform at all. And it's not a bad thing. But
You know?
this is a conversation like that I'm having with you that I had with a friend of mine is that I don't think that Meta is as invested into us as a community as we would like them to be. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we have to make sure that we're aware of how to use all the tools. They're putting the tools out there for us to use and seeing what we
Mm-hmm.
develop. And when we develop something good that they never thought of, they'll reach out to us and ask us how we did it.
Mm. That
That's how
sounds
that
about
works.
right.
So
That sounds
I
about
would
right.
not wait around for necessarily someone to make that. Like there's a few creators I think like Teacher Danny is a camera system available in
Yep.
Horizon Worlds, but like once you develop that and use it, then Meta's gonna come to you. But I don't think it's gonna be the other way around because generally they're not too concerned with what users want in that space. That's just my opinion.
That's deep coming from an island aesthetic himself, ladies and gentlemen. The truth. No, yeah, bro. I've been advocating for this VR, and I've been seeing the trends and like what people have been saying for a long time, and I came to that conclusion like, okay, they just not really seeing what we've been doing, all this content creation, all the stuff like that's been similar to what I've been doing, that everybody's been doing in the community. They just have not seen it yet. It just haven't came in their algorithm. It's not they're focused on getting more people into the glasses and other things, and I'm pretty sure as we keep going, but I love what you said because that makes total sense. They're not probably gonna do that, and I'm talking to
Yeah.
everybody like, give me VR chat cameras in Meta
Tell you,
Horizon.
tell
Well, I'm
you
going to VR chat, but I
the
can
mistake
create that.
the mistake that you're making is it's one that I told a friend of mine a couple weeks ago. Um, you're thinking in the mind of a consumer and not a producer.
Mm,
That's the thing.
mm,
People who are consumers, they want things to be ready, packaged, and be delivered. But
mm.
the expectation is if we're creators on the platform, we're actually producers, you know?
Yes,
So the
sir,
idea
man.
is that we have to start um producing things with the expectation that they're not going to make it for us. Like if you think about any of the experiences that I've like the hand tracking and everything. I developed those things myself. All those different algorithms, like literally my own. And if I waited for Meta to make something like that, it would be a very, very, very long time. But that's
Mm,
just me as in the mindset of a producer. If I don't have what I need, I'm going to start creating it in that space, and it's going to work. So that's the mindset that you have to kind of shift to sometimes. And even if you don't have the ability to do it yourself, get with someone like me or like some other scripters and say, "Hey, I have an idea," and you guys develop it. You can make those things literally.
bro, you see that, bro. You got my mind going. I might go right into the camera API and just see what's up. Cause soon as I seen camera API and like the connect and like, how they was explaining, I'm like, is that what I think? Is that what I think they're trying to do with
It
the
is
cameras? And
they
so
are
you're
give
confirming it.
they're not giving you the what is it like the ship. They're giving you the Lego pieces to make the ship. That's what they're doing. They're not going to give you the ship. If they give you the ship, that's going to cost too much money on their side.
All right. They said
That's
you
my
go
opinion.
ahead and figure it out. Here go the tools, man.
Yes, that's what they're
Love,
giving
love
us is
that.
the tools, and they want to see what we do with them.
This is like the basic John. So like I see now I gotta update it. What I mean? If
Okay.
my girl in the back watching Netflix, it's going, what I mean? That's
Yeah,
what the
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
going on.
But you were
But
asking me
no,
one last.
yeah, one last question, man, before we sign out, bro. People, I guess advice for people who wants to get into VR or get started. You know what I mean? Being a creator, or any advice for like beginners. You know what I mean?
Um, I think my advice is stay true to who you are and what you like. When you get into the platform, you're going to see some people make different things that you might like, and you might say, oh, too, but like, ask yourself, like, if you went into the space and didn't know anything about it, even if you saw anything, what do you want to make? What's inside your heart? And I would say always let that come out first. That's going to be the easiest thing to make. Whatever is in your heart, even if it's not the first thing you want to make, right? Sometimes things are on our heart that we might not want to make, but like if it's on your heart, let it out.
Hmm. Yes, sir. I love that, man. Love that. And thank you so much, my man, for real, for joining me on In the Lens with Benz, bro. It's Island Aesthetic, man. This is gonna be a wrap on the episode, bro. Thank you so much for joining and sharing your story, bro. Make sure y'all
Thank
check
you.
them out on the Instagram right down low, right there on their name. It's right below their name. Island Aesthetic, man. Thank you one more time. And thank you for everyone watching. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget to follow, share, and stay tapped in for more creators, innovators stepping into the future of VR and AI. Until next time, this is Beans signing off. Keep creating, keep imaginating, and always stay in the lens. Thank you, Island Aesthetic, my man. Thank you, bro.
Yeah,